Republicans have made it very clear what they want to do if they win Congress. What Republicans are offering, if they win the 2022 elections, is not conservatism. It is crisis. More accurately, it is crises. A debt ceiling crisis. An election crisis. And a body blow to the government's efforts to prepare for a slew of other crises we know are coming. That is not to say there aren't bills House Republicans would like to pass. There are. The closest thing to an agenda that congressional Republicans have released is the House Republican Study Committee's 122-page budget. The committee is meant to be something akin to an internal think tank for House Republicans. It counts well over half of House Republicans as members and includes Representatives Steve Scalise, Elise Stefanik and Gary Palmer, all the leaders save for Kevin McCarthy. After spending some time with the document, I would say it lacks even the pretense of prioritization, preferring instead the comforts of quantity. It lists bill after bill that House Republicans would like to pass. Legislation that would upend the structure and powers of the government, like the bill sponsored by Representative Byron Donalds that seeks to abolish the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, gets exactly the same treatment as Representative Bob Good's bill to force schools to release their correspondence with teachers' unions about when to reopen, or Representative Michael Cloud's resolution disapproving of vaccinating 11-year-olds in Washington, D.C. There are plans to privatize much of Medicare, repeal much of Obamacare and raise the Social Security age, and no fewer than 8 bills attacking critical race theory. But even if Republicans win the House and Senate, they cannot enact this agenda. It would fall to President Biden's veto. What Republicans could do is trigger crises they hope would give them leverage to force Biden to accept this agenda or perhaps force him out of office. And even where Republican leaders do not actually believe that crisis would win them the day, they may have to trigger it anyway to prove their commitment to the cause or to avoid the wrath of Donald Trump. That's not the only looming crisis. At this point, much is known about the myriad attempts Trump and his backers made to subvert the result of the 2020 presidential election. The country's saving grace was that there was little preparation behind that effort, and Republicans in key positions, to say nothing of Democrats, proved hostile to the project. But as the Times reported in October, more than 370 Republicans running for office in 2022 have said they doubt the results of that election, and hundreds of these candidates are favored to win their races. The 2022 elections are very likely to sweep into power hundreds of Republicans committed to making sure that the 2024 presidential election goes their way, no matter how the vote tally turns out. Hardly anything has been done to fortify the system against chicanery since January 6. What if congressional Republicans refuse to certify the results in key states, as a majority of House Republicans did in 2020? What if, when Trump calls Republican secretaries of state or governors or Board of Elections supervisors in 2024, demanding they find the votes he wishes he had or disqualify the votes his opponent does have, they try harder to comply? The possibilities for crisis abound. Not all crises begin with a political showdown. Some could come from a virus mutating toward greater lethality. Some could come from a planet warming outside the narrow band that has fostered human civilization. Some could come from the expansionary ambitions of dictators and autocrats. The past few years have brought vivid examples of all three. But particularly over the past year, the Republican Party has shown itself to be somewhere between dismissive of and hostile toward the preparations and responses these possible crises demand. It is easy to imagine what such policies might be. The government was slow to authorize certain new treatments and tests, cumbersome in its efforts to dole out money for research, and not nearly as innovative as it could have been in deploying technology to monitor new and emerging diseases. This is a libertarian, not a liberal, critique of government. But the study committee's budget offers no discussion of how deregulation might foster a better response next time. And it's not just COVID. Republicans have long been skeptical of efforts to prepare for climate change. The study committee's budget is thick with plans to goose fossil fuel extraction and bar federal dollars from supporting the Paris Climate Agreement. Republicans have been, shall we say, divided in their affections for Vladimir Putin, but at least in the early days of Russia's invasion of Ukraine, many backed efforts to support Ukraine. But McCarthy has suggested that Republicans will cut aid to Ukraine if they win in November, and he's far from alone in wanting to see the United States back off from the conflict. He'll say this for Republicans. They have not hidden their intentions or their tactics. They have made clear what they intend to do if they win. Biden ran, and won, in 2020 promising a return to normalcy. Republicans are running in 2022 promising a return to calamity.